I never thought a single sentence could make my entire world tilt off its axis. But when my girlfriend stood in our kitchen, nervously twisting her fingers and refusing to meet my eyes, and said, "I donated your sperm without telling you. My friend couldn't afford a clinic." I swear everything inside me froze. I couldn't even process the words at first. Donated? My sperm? Without telling me? And she just stood there saying it like she borrowed my phone charger or something. I remember feeling this mix of disbelief and anger and confusion all at once. Like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my lungs shut. And the worst part? She looked at me like she was expecting me to be proud of her. I still don't understand what possessed her to do something so invasive, so personal, without even thinking for a second about asking me. So now I need you all to tell me, was I wrong for how I reacted? Because the more I think about it, the more messed up this entire situation seems. Before everything went downhill, our relationship felt normal, stable even. We had been together for 3.5 years. Her name is Lila, and she's one of those people who always wants to be needed. And honestly, that was something I loved about her in the beginning. She was nurturing, caring, the type of person who checks on her friends, constantly and always, offers help even when nobody asked. I admired that. I thought it meant she had a big heart. But over time, I started noticing that sometimes she cared more about feeling like a hero than actually thinking through what she was doing. Like she would promise her friends things I never agreed to. And then suddenly I'd be dragged into plans or commitments I didn't even know existed. There were red flags, sure, but none of them prepared me for this. It all started with her best friend, Erica. I didn't know much about her, besides the fact that she was going through a rough divorce and struggling financially. She would visit once in a while, sometimes vent about her ex, sometimes just sit on our couch quietly scrolling through her phone. I don't dislike her, never did, but we weren't close either. I had no idea she even wanted a baby. I wasn't part of those conversations, apparently. Lila had been talking to her behind my back, and later I realized she had been planning something long before I was even remotely aware anything was happening. Around 2 months before the confession, I remember Lila acting weird. Not suspicious cheating weird, but distracted and anxious. She would get random texts and hide her phone screen. She kept saying she was helping Erica with something personal, and I didn't press it because Lila has always been the emotional support friend. But looking back, she wasn't hiding gossip, she was hiding a literal life-altering decision involving my DNA. One day, she told me she needed a favor from me, but didn't explain what it was. She casually asked if I'd be willing to do a home fertility test, just to check something. Didn't think too much of it because she had mentioned wanting kids someday, and I assumed she was just curious about compatibility. She handled everything, bought the kit, set it up, told me what to do. And dumb idiot me didn't question anything because I trusted her. I thought it was part of some future planning thing, maybe something to help us understand each other better. I never thought, not even for a moment, that she was collecting it for someone else. Over the next few weeks, she became even stranger. Every time Erica visited, the two of them would whisper in the bedroom or step outside for air. I asked once if everything was okay, but Lila brushed me off with a kiss on the cheek and said, "Girl stuff, don't worry about it." I tried not to. I really did. But the secrecy kept building this weird pressure in the back of my head. Then came the day she dropped the bomb. It was a regular Sunday morning. I was making coffee. She walked into the kitchen, pale and jittery, and said, "We need to talk." You know that feeling when your stomach drops because that phrase never leads anywhere good? Multiply that by 100. She told me she did something behind my back but insisted. It came from a good place. Braced myself for something like she lent someone money or she adopted another stray cat, but no. She sat at the table, pulled her knees up to her chest, and blurted it out. "I donated your sperm to Erica. She can't afford a clinic and she's been struggling so much. She wants a baby and I wanted to help her." I genuinely thought she was joking. I kept waiting for the punchline. When I realized she wasn't joking, I lost the ability to speak for a good 20 seconds. My mind was scrambling, trying to understand how she even managed to do that. She explained that when she asked me to do the fertility test, she just saved the sample. She kept it refrigerated, yes, refrigerated, like some sort of renegade home lab experiment, then handed it over to her friend, who was trying to inseminate herself at home. Because she couldn't afford a professional clinic, I didn't even know where to start. I asked her how she thought this was remotely okay, and she got defensive. She said Erica was devastated after her divorce, that she desperately wanted a child, and that she didn't have anyone else. She said she wanted to help her friend feel whole again. She said she assumed I'd eventually come around. Once I saw how happy it made someone, I couldn't believe she used the phrase come around, like I was supposed to just shrug and say, oh well, guess I'm a father now to a child I never agreed to. I didn't give consent. I wasn't even asked. She took something deeply personal, something I should have had full control over, and gave it away like a hand-me-down coat. I kept asking her why she didn't tell me, why she didn't even try to get my permission, and her answer made everything worse. Because I knew you'd say no, and I didn't want to let her down. She was right. I would have said no, but that doesn't give her the right to use my DNA behind my back. And the more she talked, the more I realized she didn't regret what she did. She regretted that I found out. Later that evening, Erica texted me a long apology, though it didn't feel sincere. She said she thought I knew. She said she assumed Lila had explained everything to me. She said she was already trying to get pregnant. The moment I read that line, I felt physically sick. And now here's where I need your attention. Because at this point in the story, I was stuck in this emotional tornado where anger, betrayal, fear, and shock were all colliding in my brain at the same time. Before I tell you what happened next, before I explain the decision I made, I want you to pause for a moment and imagine being in my shoes. Imagine someone using your genetic material without consent. Imagine finding out you might become a parent without ever choosing to be one. What would you have done? Seriously, comment below. Because I need to know if my reaction was justified, or if I somehow went too far. When I finally calmed down enough to think clearly, the first thing I did was leave the apartment. I needed distance. I needed air. I needed to not be anywhere near Lila while I tried to make sense of the situation. I stayed with my brother for 2 nights, barely sleeping, replaying every interaction in my mind, trying to figure out if I missed any hints. I didn't. There were none. She genuinely believed she had the right to make that choice for me. On the 3rd day, I contacted a lawyer. I needed legal advice because I was terrified of being held responsible for a child I never consented to. The lawyer told me that in most jurisdictions, biological fathers can still be held liable for child support, even if the insemination was done without proper consent or medical documentation. That sentence alone made me feel like the ground beneath me shattered. I confronted Lila again after that. She cried, begged, said she only wanted to help her friend, said she didn't want to lose me. She promised she would fix everything, but she couldn't even explain how she planned to fix something this enormous. You can't exactly undo potential conception. I told her I was done. I ended the relationship. She screamed at me, saying I was abandoning her during a hard time, that she thought I'd understand, that she did it out of love. But that wasn't love. Love doesn't take away someone's bodily autonomy. Love doesn't gamble with someone else's future. A week later, Erica texted me again saying she wasn't pregnant, yet. She said she would respect my boundaries and stop trying. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. I still don't know if she was genuinely unaware or just pretending to be. The aftermath of all this has been exhausting. I had to get legal. Documentation stating that any use of my genetic material was unauthorized. I had to block both Lila and Erica. I had to explain to my family why I was suddenly dealing with lawyer appointments. It has been one of the most surreal experiences of my life. And sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night panicking about what-if scenarios. But as messed up as everything is, I'm grateful I found out when I did. I'm grateful I didn't unknowingly become a father to a child in a situation built entirely on deception. And I'm grateful I got out of that relationship before something even worse happened. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that consent isn't optional. It isn't something you can work around. It isn't something you can decide on behalf of someone else, no. No matter how good your intentions might be. I keep thinking about how easily this could have spiraled into a lifelong obligation I never asked for, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So yeah, that's the whole twisted story. Thank you for sticking with me through all of it. If you were on my side, even a little, please hit that like button because it helps the channel more than you know. Subscribe if you want more stories like this because trust me, there's more chaos in my life than I ever expected. And drop your thoughts in the comments because I genuinely want to know what you all think about this whole mess. I'll see you in the next story.